Good day, Aeronauts. Today we are talking with one of your favorite projects, the Lost Donkeys. That's right, Big Noodle and Lambo McGee are going to take us deep into the past, present, and future of TLD. We're going to talk about the donkey origin story, the lost paper, and how they built such a loyal community. We'll get into the mechanics of designing and building a game, and how to deliver incremental value to your holders, all while keeping that bigger, longer term vision alive. And we're going to talk about the future, the multi chain donk-board riding future of TLD. Let's go. Welcome to Ready Layer 2 with me, Get.Small. This is a podcast for the founders, innovators, and experimenters building the future of Web3 on Arbitrum. Hey everybody, I am sitting here with possibly the most beloved project on Arbitrum today. Really excited to be talking with Big Noodle and Lambo McGee about the Lost Donkeys. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Hello, hello.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Donley, for inviting us on your podcast. Very happy to be here, and I'm very excited to talk about the Lost Donkeys.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my friend. It means the world to us. Lambo McGee here. Much love to all my Donkey fam, anyone in the L2 fam. Really appreciate you having us on the podcast, my friend. I'm really excited to talk to you about the future.
Yeah. And I don't say that jokingly. You guys get a lot of love on Twitter. Everything I see around the donkeys, it's good vibes. People are really excited. People are rooting for you. Donkey PFPs all over the place. So yeah, you got a good thing going there. We're gonna talk about that as a component of this whole thing to set us up. Big Noodle, if you could just give us a little bit of the backstory here for the Lost Donkeys. Just where does this idea come from? There's kind of like this quirky backstory to it. The lost paper that's out there. If folks have read through that, if you haven't, I encourage you to. Not super long, but a lot of fun. Where'd the idea come from?
Yeah, so to go back to the start of the Lost Donkeys, we have to go back to January 2022. So it was right after Treasure redesigned their Treasure NFT, basically like the very first NFT that they released on layer 1 that went after a bridge on layer 2 on Arbitrum, and then they decided to redesign the wall NFTs. And in those NFTs that they redesigned, there were this donkey, and I don't know if you've seen the face of the donkey, but it looks like, I don't know, it's very funny. So once everyone saw the donkey, everyone was starting to make fun of it. And there were a group of people from the Treasure community who made a DAO. It wasn't really a DAO, but it was a group of people called Donkey DAO. And so I don't know, maybe a few days after they created the thing, I made a few video and stuff, funny meme video whatsoever. And then I joined this group of people doing the Donkey DAO. And I asked Miru, which is the artist of the Lost Donkeys at that moment, I asked her to do a couple of PFP donkey for the people that were in the DAO. So we started to just spread those PFP on Twitter, and out of nowhere, Garp, which is the Treasure co-founder, reached out. He was yeah, I think this PFP collection could be a thing. It's very funny. We are releasing our own marketplace in 2 months. Are you down to make it into a real project? And it's how it started.
Yeah, that's awesome. So super organic, just Web3 people messing around, having fun, and it turns into something, there's so many of those stories that you run into. I love that. Now, when you're talking about the donkey from Treasure, are you talking about the card within Bridgeworld, that donkey, or... Yeah, that's one. Okay. I've never even paid attention to what it looks like next time I play in that thing. I think it popped up on me this morning when I was playing my triad.
It's funny because I think it goes back to a time that a lot of people don't even know about, because if you really talk to new Treasure people and you tell them the original treasures in Magic were all on L1, they'd call you a liar. They'd call you a big fat liar.
That sounds expensive.
It sounds expensive, right? But it was a big testament to the trust that was really built in the small Treasure community that had existed at that time. And I don't even know if that's the correct word to call them, because it wasn't really Treasure DAO yet. You know what I mean? They had released Magic, they had released the Treasure NFTs. And they planned this whole redesign, and then everyone was bridged from L1 to L2. And I wasn't even around at this point. Noodle has the biggest backstory amongst our team. You know what I mean? They have such deep connections in Magic space that I always tell people, like, you're not a true Magic OG if you didn't start on L1.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't even understand that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That this all started on L1, and John Patton saw the vision going from L1 to L2. So that trust in the community really led to something beautiful, man. It really did.
Yeah. Yeah. What's also, so the community story in there and that kind of, again, that organic growth is just cool. And it's part of what I really love about the Arbitrum space in general, but certainly about the treasure ecosystem in particular. But what's interesting about this is like timelines in crypto are bananas. Like I've basically been doing this for about a year. Prior to that, I wasn't paying attention. And when you guys talk about some of this stuff, it seems like ancient history to me. And it was like 6 months before I showed up, which is in and of itself fascinating. So don't touch on that a little bit. Yeah, the
For sure.
timelines are
Imagine
nuts.
if I tell you, yeah, imagine if I tell you the story when I bought Bitcoin in 2014.
Oh, very nice. So you are a true OG.
I know, but I was like 20%. I was reading something, and 20% of the Bitcoin are locked on a wallet. And in that 20%, there is mine.
Oh, it just lost forever.
Yeah, just like the donkeys.
Yep, that happens. Oh, could be part of the story too then. All right, so this thing evolves. It's you guys are screwing around, having fun with a silly looking donkey card inside of Bridgeworld, turns into this DAO club, whatever you want to call it. And then you make the PFPs, then they reach out and then turn into a thing. So from that idea, from that conversation, what happens next? Do you make more PFPs or what?
Yeah, so after, because like with the team of the Behind the Lost Donkeys, we had another project, like another NFT collection ready to go, but we didn't really push the marketing yet. So we were thinking about, guys, what do we do? Are we pushing marketing on the collection that is already ready, which is called the Monsters? Or are we gonna just start from scratch and make the Lost Donkey? And yeah, we decided to go for the donkey. Originally, we started the design in January 2022 because Trove was supposed to be launched by end of February, early March. So we were like, you have to develop like a whole community and a whole collection in a month and a half, basically.
Mhm.
It was like very like tough, but at the same time, I think the whole team was very hyped because we quickly had a lot of engagement in our community and a lot of people were talking about us and stuff. But Treasure had some trouble with the marketplace, building the marketplace and stuff took a bit more time. And so we end up like having to postpone for 3 months, I think. And we're like, okay, guys, our community is ready to mint our donkeys, but we don't have a marketplace yet. And what do we do now? Like, we have 3 months to kill, and what's gonna happen? 3 months is fucking long.
Yeah, it is.
As you said, 6 months seems like a long time. Imagine 3 months having a product that is ready and not being able to launch. So it's where we started to think about making a video game, because we're like, okay, you know what, guys, we have time. Might as well just like we use this time to build something even more cool. So it's where we started to think about the whole game and stuff that was supposed to be like a point and click, like a harvesting game, like a Stardew Valley, like those kind of games, basically. And so yeah, it's how like the idea of making a game started. Even like at first it was only just a funny project for fun, a free mint project,
Right.
just for the community.
Okay. So you started working on the game prior to the PFP project actually launching then because you're delayed waiting on the marketplace. So like, where do you go from there? Do you sit down and write this lost paper about bringing the zombies, the dunk apocalypse or whatever you call it?
Yeah, so it was tough because you start with a white page, basically. Like when you don't have a direction, you can go in every direction you want. So we just looked like this angle where, okay, you know what? Donkeys are funny animals. Let's make like a funny story around it. There will be like the zombie donkeys that attack the village. And then the donkeys are lost and they need to rebuild their own land in order not to be lost and stuff. So yeah, we list down all the video games that we like with the team and then discuss about why do we like those games and what component we like about those games and what do we envision to put in our own game. So that's how, yeah, and also because we're free mint, right? So it means the fund like was zero from mint. So we needed something that was easy enough to do with a fun gaming loop and that is proven that works already. So that's why we decided to go like for those like harvesting game and stuff, because it was easy to include GameFi in it, I mean DeFi mechanism through the gaming loop. But in the end, that's what we did.
Nice.
Just like going for a real video game now.
Yeah, so actually, when we released the Lost paper was a really big deal because nobody knew that TLD was going to be a game. Everyone just thought it was going to be a PFP project. And Noodle, still to this day, is the ultimate hype man and just doesn't tell anybody anything until it's time and just drop that Lost paper, man. And I'll never
Yeah.
forget that day because it was like, I had already knew like I wanted to be a donkey maxi, but once the Lost paper came out and then Mint and everything, dude, yeah, I actually came to the team as a holder. I was just a whale and I ended up buying 20 donkeys. And it was honestly the Lost paper was the reason I bought 20 donkeys. So
Oh, that's
it's
awesome.
really cool to come from the opposite end as just a holder to be stoked on the product that is getting created. To Noodle and I ended up having a conversation and he was just like, yeah, man, you want to help with the marketing? Just go for it. There was nothing really set in stone. It was just him basically. It was just like, go for it. Let's see what happens. And then it just started blowing up. Really grateful for the donkey community. Really grateful that all of this kind of stemmed from just that. Just as Noodle was talking about, I don't even think he would have told you a year ago or a little over a year ago that this would all end up this, you know what I mean? I don't even really
Sure.
know how to explain it because it's snowballed, man, and it's just super cool to be a part of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and there's something here too I want to dig into more about. One, the hype man comment and the dropping the paper out there unannounced, and I want to dig into that a little bit. But help me, just refresh me on the timelines again here now. So, what was approximately when was it that you decided you were doing a PFP project? That was what month and year?
So basically, mid-January,
Right.
Garp reached out. Yeah,
Okay.
2022. Garp reached out and told us, okay, we're making marketplace. You guys should do this collection.
Got it. And then when did you drop the Lost paper?
Last paper was dropped just 2 weeks before Mint, something I think approximative, like that, because we didn't want, because as I said, like we had 3 months to
Yeah,
wait, right?
it was like, I want to
So it's
say like maybe like the first couple days of March or maybe the last
Okay,
few
so
days.
it's pretty soon after.
Yeah,
All right, so you had this 2-month window where you were letting people know there was going to be a PFP project. Then you had to wait. Then you did this paper. And Lambo, when did you start paying attention? How did you find out about this in the first place?
So I'm really lucky, man. I got introduced to the crypto scene by a gentleman by the name of Nooch. And Nooch and Noodle were friends, and he had
Mhm.
brought a Nooch onto the team for TLD. And Nooch has an alpha server. Noodle and Nooch were able to work out getting everyone in the server whitelist for donkeys. So
Okay.
this started that whitelist grinding craze and it really stemmed from the small brains Freeman, where everyone thought, oh my God, it's an Arbitrum free mint. It's the next big thing. It's going to be worth thousands of dollars. And that was
Okay,
just,
got
that
it.
was the ride, man. I got whitelisted donkeys. I had whitelist too. I don't really want to say a bunch of other projects because they ended up being rugs. And that's my point, is around the time I started paying attention to all these projects to now, very few of them are actually around. It's really an attestament to the community behind donkeys and also the team for the product that we've created. You know what I mean? Because since I've, starting as a holder, becoming a team member to now to where I'm deep in the industry and seeing where other projects started and where they are now, it's really interesting, man. It's really interesting. I'm really glad Donkeys was the project that I chose to pay attention to the most. I really have to say thank you to Nooch to this day. I wouldn't know Noodle if it wasn't for him. Very grateful to be working with Noodle and the entire Lost Donkey team. Yeah, but I would have to say it was Nooch brought me in, but it was that game paper, man. That game paper.
Yeah, that's what's yeah. That's why I want to dig into this a little bit, because obviously it sucked you into the project hard. You went and bought 20 donkeys. Now here you are a year whatever later doing the marketing for the project, and in a lot of ways being like the Twitter face of the project. And I mentioned in the opening, like that kind of like love and vibe around the project in the ecosystem, like that all came from somewhere. And that's why I want to take this apart, because if the listener is thinking about launching something and thinking about trying to start a community, like there's a bit of magic in what you guys did here that they can pick up on. And that's why I'm prying apart this particular point. So when you launched that paper, what was it like? Was that planned that you weren't telling anybody that it was going to be a game and you wanted it to be a surprise, or like what led to that kind of approach?
So I think we need to go back a bit before
Okay.
that for the way we did marketing, because we had very like strong growth at the very beginning. I think like in just a week we gained like 10,000 followers. So how I did it was that creating like a huge FOMO, honestly. I remember like just opening the Discord for 10 invites, and
Okay.
then like people will go crazy over
Scarcity.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like being in the Discord will be like, I remember people will come in the Discord like and say, yo, I made it. I'm here finally. It's been like 3 weeks I'm trying, like those kind of thing. The same with the whitelist. I remember people, like, I will ask them to fill like some random like type form or Google form, and then I will just pick like some winners for the. So there were like a bunch of very weird way to get whitelisted or to access to Discord. And every time you will just come like this, I told everyone, put your notification on. I won't warn you. Like the first to come will be the first to be served, you know? So we kept this kind of communication so far for the whole project in the end. And that's why I also did that for the last paper. I wanted it to be, how to say, surprising for the community. So yeah, we decided to keep it. Maybe we started like to tease a bit, like, I don't know, 3-4 days before, but no one knew that it was going to be a game and stuff.
Okay. All right. No, this makes a ton of sense now. Then this, like those moves to create that FOMO and create the scarcity and just get people wanting in, right? That's you want to get people to want the thing and want to take the action. But that requires a lot of trust too. Were you just known in the community already? So people knew you and that's why they're like, oh, this is Noodle, so I can trust he's not rugging me. Because that's always the first thing when I see a new project up and I'm not alone. New project comes up and someone even reaches out and says, hey, take a look at this. My first thought is this link gonna try to drain my wallet? Is this guy trying to trick me? What's going on? So that's a big part in this world of you got to overcome that to get people's attention and get them to trust you to try some things out. So did you have that already or did you have to do something to facilitate that too?
Not really. I was early in the community, but I wasn't the type of guy who will just go out there and talk with everyone or whatsoever. If anything, I'm more the kind that will just observe whatever people are saying, but not really
You
like.
were really mysterious in the beginning, especially at the launch of Donkeys. I don't think you even spoke publicly until after Mint Spaces or anything like that. But I think it was really important to his persona in the beginning because that little bit of mystery, that little bit of curiosity really stimulated people. Especially
Yeah.
at that time in the scene, there were so many people coming into L2 that not only was it their first time dealing in L2, but they weren't really familiar in crypto and NFTs. Maybe I met a lot of people that I helped get into Arbitrum around this time that felt like they were late to ETH. And I've been trying to tell everyone, like, it's a double-edged sword, man. We're all early. It doesn't matter where you are. But
Right.
the early people that came to ARB, as soon as I exposed them to TLD and they started seeing a little bit of the mystery behind Noodle and stuff, it was just ultimate hype. It's definitely a period of time that like I'll never forget. So much euphoria in the unknown that we just were
Right.
unaware of the scene. We're all very romanticized with it. And I have to say the mystery that Noodle brought to ended up becoming a reality just because it's just turned into something really beautiful.
Yeah, right on. Now, do you guys think that you would have had the same, do you think it could have worked the same way? Because obviously then you were in an upcycle, right? Everybody was, you mentioned the word euphoria. That's definitely what happens, right? And then people start winning and things are working out. They're more apt to experiment and try new things. Do you think that a project today might have a different experience there? Or do you think that has anything to do with it? How, and if so, how would you approach it differently in the current climate?
Yeah. What I wanted to talk about is that we're like very lucky by being early in the ecosystem. I think we're like third project to the second or the third, like after Toadstool and possibly Peekaboo. Project to launch in this ecosystem. The ecosystem was still very small, even though, of course, like we know what it is today, but there were like, I don't know, maybe 30,000 people on Twitter or maybe like just 10% of these who were active in the community. By being early, we were able to develop quickly connection with the treasure team, with the Arbitrum team, and this really helped us to build something that will last because we have like strong connection either with the treasure team or with the Arbitrum team. We also know all the other builders in the ecosystem. I'm thinking about like Astro, for example, or even Carol that is now on the treasure team. I remember how he would have started. He did like this rarity tool for treasure, but he wasn't even in the team yet.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
And
that.
I remember talking to Carol. We'll chat, we'll do giveaway together and stuff. And then after that, like he got into the treasure team, So it was like very early in the whole ecosystem. And I guess that's why it was very easy. I believe that now it's more complicated because there is more and more project joining. The people like also like, for example, because also when we started, there were a lot of liquidity in the ecosystem because basically Treasure printed like free money for everyone. And a lot of people made a shit ton of money and a lot of liquidity to spend on NFTs. I believe that now, I mean, after the whole Arbitrum boom and the Magic as well being listed on like Binance and stuff, like it brought like a lot more people. But I believe that it's more complicated today to launch, not because there is not enough liquidity, because I believe that the liquidity is there, but because it's harder to connect either with other project or with the Arbitrum team or whatsoever, because now like it's so big.
Yeah, it's bigger and more
So
crowded
I'm pretty
now, for
sure
sure.
there must be like, they must have a lot of message being like sent to them and stuff. So honestly, we're lucky. I think that today, like if I were to launch a project today, what really worked, I remember, was to target project that were the same size as us and just do like mass communication together. I remember, I think what really helped us is that we were really like sharing the community, pushing each other, always doing collaborations. As we were all free mint, most of us like were free mint, we didn't have any kind of competition because we knew that we're all part of the same ecosystem. And that's how I think this kind of magic like was created, because like it was very benevolent. Everyone was nice with each other. I remember being in touch with every founder of every treasure ecosystem project. So yeah, I think my recommendation right now will be like to really create a group of projects, at least the founders, and communicate together, doing a lot of collaboration, see how one can benefit the other and stuff. Because this like the collaboration and in a bigger picture, just like working together with the ecosystem, for me is the only way to achieve like a bigger vision.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah, right on. No, certainly from a building mindset, that makes a ton of sense, but also from a gaining trust standpoint, if they see your project rolling at least with another project, there's somebody who trusts you. So you can almost do that for each other. It's the recent interview I did with the Gainlings project that just launched this week on Arbitrum. They mentioned the small sharks specifically as doing that for them. They said it was real hard in the beginning to get people to just take them seriously and trust them. And once the Small Sharks team did that for them, it got easier afterwards because there was somebody that was maybe not vouching for them, but there was somebody hanging with them, if you will. So it just made it a little easier for the next group or the next person to pay a little bit of attention. It sounds like what you're getting at here.
Yeah, to
Yeah,
kind of come off
definitely.
that, it's definitely one of those things where like in the beginning of the eco, like the ARB eco where we all were, it was a little bit easier to get in. But me especially, man, and the donkeys, we've worked so hard on our reputation. It's not easy to get in like the circle of trust, but once you're in the circle of trust, it's beautiful, man. But no, yeah, shout out to the Gainlings. I like the team. A buddy of mine's been working with them. Lily, shout out Lily. He's a great guy. Yeah, I'm really excited to see what they do. And that's a great example, man. Yeah, because once you get vetted with a project like Small Sharks, I love Fantine. She's amazing, the founder of Small Sharks. She's an
I
amazing.
get to know her a little bit on Twitter.
Oh yeah,
and I agree. Everyone loves her.
She's so cool. It's insane how cool she is.
Yeah.
I literally can't explain how cool she is. She's the coolest girl in the whole world. But yeah, once you have someone like Fantine batting for you, man, yeah, you're vetted in the eco. And I would have to say the same. If any ends up working with us donkeys, it's just that synergy of love, man. Because that's our big thing with, especially with donkeys, is love from the community. It's back and forth, dude. Like all the love we get from the community, we give it back in full force. And once you become vetted with either TLD or any other projects, man, it just becomes full circle, dude. And that's something I say really consistently in live talks, is just that love is universal. You know what I mean? So that's just like the definition of like RL2 eco, man. You know, once that love exists, dude, it just fucking radiates.
Yeah, right on. Okay. So jumping ahead from this then, so you got your lost paper out, you got the vibe going, now you've got direction. but now you got to build something, right? Where did you go from here? What was that? How did you put together the first version of the game?
It was tough, honestly, because we had the whole roadmap in mind. And yeah, one important thing that we didn't mention is that between the white paper and the mint, bear market happened.
Yeah, that was a thing.
This is important to mention, yeah. So the first part of the game was, which is not like, when I think about it, it's not very like a game, but basically like you had to stack your donkey for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
We kind of gamified the way you were gonna stack it and stuff, but it's not a proper game per se.
Right.
So yeah, you stack your donkey for 2 weeks before being able to redeem a barn,
Mhm.
which is also free. And after that, like with this barn will be the location basically of your barn and where you will be on the map and stuff. And yeah, I remember like, because we launched in May, I think by June, July, August, we were like so down, like the whole crypto market
Mhm.
and stuff. I remember like Ethereum being below like 1,000. We didn't have as much volume as we thought we would have, also because of the bear market. So we had a small treasury as well.
Mhm.
One of the team member who was sitting on a quite big bag of magic decided to fund project from his own bag. Yeah, so we all like chip in a bit, but basically, yeah,
Got it.
fund most of it. So we could, hire people
Mhm.
behind the game as well, because we saw how fast the gaming was going, like on Web3, and how fast were the changes and stuff.
Mhm.
That we're like, okay, you know what? Like we're making a simple like point and click. By the time we're done with it, people won't want to play with it anymore. Like it'll be already like old fashioned. We had to redesign a whole like game, and actually like quite grateful that it was bear market, because I don't know how we will have find a time during a bull market. Maybe with a bull market, we'll just have gone like with the game that we thought would be good.
Mhm.
And maybe like today we wouldn't be existing anymore, you know?
Okay.
So with the bear market, we're able like to rethink the whole game. And I think end of September, we started to find like game developer that will be able to develop the game like that you guys already know like today.
Yep. Yeah, right on. So let's talk through this. Like, what skill set do you need, or what resources did you need in a game developer to be able to put together what you've done so far? I don't know, like, how did you determine what you needed?
How do we determine what we need in order to make the
Mhm.
game, or how we created the game?
Yeah, no, when you're sitting there again, put yourself in the standpoint of somebody who's trying to figure this out for the first time. They got this project idea
Yeah.
and they're like, all right, I need to go start turning this into a game. What am I looking for? What type of developer do I need? Where did you find them? Where would you recommend people go?
So the biggest advice I can give right now it's really know what resources it takes
Yep.
to build a game, to know what resource you have, and to get ideas to have ideas that can be done with your budget,
Mhm.
basically. Because of course, like when you imagine a game, I don't know about you guys, but I'm a huge gamer. I play like every MMORPG, every PS whatsoever. And like I was like, oh, today I can create my game. Okay, I'm gonna put everything I like in that game.
Mhm.
But you don't know that like behind like a game, there is like a team of 200 devs,
Yeah,
right?
a couple $100 million budget, multi-years. That's no
Yeah.
joke to do a project like that.
So I think what is very important is to observe in small like indie game that you like, what you like about it. Like to really make a list of game you like, and then you write why do you like those games? What like loop
Mhm.
you like? What game loop you like in that game? Is it because you have to guess stuff? Because it's a quest? Because you have to solve an enigma? Because you have to fight a monster
Mhm.
or whatsoever? And once like you have all of those, then you see, okay, what is the easiest to do and what is the most complicated to
Right.
make. Then you can already like start a roadmap with that. For example, let's say you want to do like some simple puzzle solving, and every time you solve a puzzle, you get, I don't know, a token, and with a certain amount of token, you can access to another level of puzzle and whatsoever. A puzzle is very simple, right? Maybe it will take 1 month between like the idea and the product release. So you can already start by that. And after that, maybe like you have a more complicated idea that will take more time. So you're players already have this game with a game loop that is satisfying, where they have fun, and they can wait, because I think the perfect balance is to find short-term satisfaction, mid-term satisfaction, and long-term satisfaction for the players. So we need to think at those three levels. And you can work on something long-term. It's not something where your team is going to work on it every day, but maybe 2 days a week, you know that your team is dedicated to the long-term game.
Right.
Then maybe just 1 day a week, or I don't know. But so basically, the point is to really split your time between what's the priority and what's the vision for long-term, and to find the right balance in order to build both at the same time. Because as well, like if you only look about, okay, what's the next step, there is a lot of risk. The first risk is that in 1 year, your game doesn't make sense, because like you achieve like a bunch of small goals, and altogether they don't make sense as a whole. So it's important to have a precise direction, and to divide this big goal, and to divide it and take it like step by step.
But deliver. That's what I'm hearing, is like you got to feed the user base. You can't just tell them all of this wonderful stuff is coming, just keep hanging with us, we'll eventually get there. You got to be giving them something. Here is a piece of it, and here's what's coming next.
It only lasts for so long. You can only tell people more to come, soon to come for so long. And then they realize, is this a rug? What's going on here? Are we all getting rugged right now?
No, right on. Or they just get bored. Or they just think you think you're maybe not a rug. Well, these guys are all talk. They're just not ever going to get it done. So I think you avoid all that by delivering something in the short term. And I do a lot of product development, not in games, but with customers. I work at the quadrant, and it's like high value on the x-axis, and it's expense on the y, and you end up with 4 quadrants, and you plot all your different ideas in there. And it's high value, high expense. Those are maybes, but high value, low expense. Those are your priorities. You put those to the front of the line. Low value, high expense. You cross them off the list, and you never think about them ever again. No matter how much you think you want them, you just get rid of them. So like that kind of prioritization is what I'm hearing from you guys, breaking it down in terms of the deliverables. What are those? Maybe it's high fun, low expense, makes sense in the roadmap, get that thing out there, and then move on to the next. And that thing you're working on once a week or twice a week, you're talking about, is maybe that high value, high expense kind of long-term vision-y piece. Definitely. So that all jives with my experience, and I think is good advice to the listener for sure. So from a developer standpoint, like, what type of developer do you need to do this, to make a Web3 game? Like, what skill set do you need to hire for or have yourself?
So it depends, like, what kind of engine you want to use. First, we're using Unity. We're looking for Unity devs, which was quite hard, because Unity devs are high in demand lately, because gaming is emerging. There is more and more possibilities of making great game by just a small team, because the tools are getting better. We can see it like on the market. There's great games with small teams that are being released like every day. So it was very hard to find dev, but I think there is no magic recipe, right? Just you have to be there and to contact a lot of people. Like, you have no ideas. I think I've interviewed like over 20 people in order to find like the right dev. It was like pretty hard and pretty long, because you want your dev to be able like to work alone at first, but the dev need also to be able like to manage a team, because as a Web3 game, the goal is not like to stay small, right? It's to grow and to have a bigger team to raise funds and stuff. And so it's hard to find someone that has to be there since the beginning, to work alone, and that is also able to manage a whole team when it will be needed.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, it's that perfect blend of the people skills, if you will, with the technical skills. So you need, because you do, especially if you're hiring a developer to build your project, like, you need a good fucking developer. You can't like hire like a mediocre dev, but you need a good developer who also can do these things that you're talking about. And I agree, it's a big ask. It's hard to find. They're out there, but they're hard to find.
For sure. And I think a big thing is, a lot of what we're trying to do is for the first time. Like, Web3 gaming in itself, NFT gaming, is just like Noodle said, there's not a recipe, but not only is there not a recipe, but there's no cookbook out there. You know what I mean? No one really knows exactly what to do. Every Web3 game that we're going to see produced in the next year, there's going to be something unique about it that game development company did, or that team had created for that game, to make sure that it works, because there's just not that like sound, like connection of servers across the world where it's like, hey,
Right.
Xbox or Microsoft, we're launching our game, boom, we're good to go, we're around the world, boom, boom. It's NFT gaming is in itself, it's true definition of indie gaming, man.
Right
And to
on.
back up to what Noodle was talking about with Stardew Valley started as a one-man team. Just like Noodle said, with a one-man developer.
Yep.
He spent 2 years on the game before it got picked up by an actual gaming studio. And then that gaming studio took 3 years to produce what is actually Stardew Valley that is now you can go buy at GameStop. You know what I mean? It's time, it's manpower, it's capabilities, and it's budget. Once you can tie
Yep.
those four things in and understand your limitations as an organization, you can build a product. It doesn't matter. You don't have to have Witcher 3's $80 million budget.
Mhm.
Let's look at Beacons with what they did.
The Beacon, actually, it's a very good example. It's a video game studio who decided to make something into Web3. So they were already a game studio, and after that, like, they were building the game before launching the NFTs. And it's honestly very smart because, like, for us, we went the opposite way and we launch a project and then we start to work on the product. But when you launch a project and you start to work on the product, you're not focusing only on the product because you have a whole community to manage and you have a lot of things like to collaboration or whatsoever like you need to do. And meanwhile, like the Beacon were very smart by developing the product first because they spent, I don't know, like 7 or 8
Mhm.
months building, and they already had a lot of ideas for post-launch even. So I think it was like very smart because they could focus on building the game, and after the launch, the game was already set.
Got it. So you're saying that as opposed to building an NFT project and then turning that into a game. Is that what you're contrasting
Yeah.
it to, like that approach?
Mhm.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we covered like that initial marketing community building phase. We just talked a bit about the actual build phase. What I'd like to come back and talk about is the business mechanics of it. Like, how do you keep this thing afloat? And then where are you trying to go? Like, where are you trying to take this as a business?
So if I
Yeah.
can kind of start on just the marketing standpoint. So as Noodle has mentioned many times, we're a free project. And as of right now, our entire treasury comes from third-party sales. So I got to thank anyone that buys and sells donkeys. You guys are the reason that we're able to afford the game. But yeah, it's really that big push is we want third-party sales. You know, I love everyone that buys and sells donkeys
Mm-hmm.
that actively is on the marketplace, no matter how you do it, because that's what drives our game. And it's that market push of not just being a video game, but people like the PFPs. People love the donkey PFPs. People love
Oh, yeah, they're
to
everywhere.
hunt for
Yep.
rare donkeys. I see more people buying above the floor than at the floor. So, from just a donkey income perspective, all of our money that we get in from third party sales, we go boom, right back into development. But then I'll
Right.
go ahead and let Noodle talk about where we go from there because right now what my kind of job is to ensure that our people are happy, our community loves us, and that they're buying and selling their
Yep.
donkeys, you know what I mean, and they're not dumping them to the floor, which I don't ever see happening because we have so many amazing holders. Yeah, please, I'll
Yeah,
go ahead
right
and
on.
let Noodle
And
take
real
over.
quick before you jump off of this is royalties as a source of income. Obviously, a big story in NFT market in general over the last couple of months has been that going away
Yeah.
because all like the Blur OpenSea stuff. We've been immune to that in the Arbitrum ecosystem, and certainly the Treasury ecosystem to date. My expectation is that's going to continue to be part of the business model for these projects. Do you see, is that at risk at all, do you think, in this?
I think what a lot of that stems from is these large projects on L1 that have raised so much money and they continue to be greedy.
Mhm.
So, what is one thing that no one from TLD has ever done? No one here's ever bought a Lambo off mint funds because our mint was zero. So,
Mhm.
you look at these projects, and I'm not going to name drop anyone because I don't like to publicly slander. We see these massive projects with millions of dollars behind it either whether it's from Mint or the massive corporation that released the project, and then they were charging X amount ETH per mint. And then they release
Mhm.
second collections. They release these different things to try and raise capital for the project. Where did all that capital go from the initial minting or whatever?
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of greed took over. So from the opposite perspective, it's now people are like, man, why would I want to continue to give a cut to this project that has done nothing for me? They already have money. And I see that as, in a sense, being a positive for individual users, but who I don't see that helping is artists and low budget projects that have big plans. And that's
Mhm.
Donkeys as an example, man. We were a free mint project that decided, you know what, we're going to become a game. And then all of our funds have come from our third party sales. So if it wasn't for third party sales, if it wasn't for those royalties some people want to take away, we wouldn't be here today. So I think it's about the appropriateness of how much money you're taking from your third party sales. We see
Right.
these projects, like I've said, they raise all these funds and then they don't ever ship anything again. But then the creator royalties are left on to whatever 5%, 7.5%. And we
Right.
see it happen
Right.
with all
Right.
these other projects. And just like I said, it comes down to, is that royalty going in their pocket or is that royalty
Yeah.
going to the budget? And further perspective, just to finish up on that, is artists. Let's be real, man. Artists are the biggest demographic of people in this scene that get taken advantage of on a daily basis, man. And I
Hmm.
genuinely think that since now they have the ability to write into these smart contracts, that they can get a little piece from that art, no matter when it's sold. It doesn't have to be in their possession. Someone else sold their
Yeah.
Picasso. Someone sells their Picasso for 100 million. You get a little chunk of that. And I just think that's
Yeah.
fair to the
Yeah. I'm with you.
core, you know what I mean? Because as an artist, you put your life and soul into this art, you know what I mean? You deserve a little piece, but
Oh
just
yeah, yeah. The royalties on art was honestly one of the first things that intrigued me about Web3 in general for artists, visual artists, for even for writers and things like that. Like the opportunities that opens up and fund the amount of funding that can create for creativity going forward. I think it'd just be good for humanity in general. So I'm totally with you on that. And it sounds like what you're saying is you're comfortable that the TLD community will continue to feel good about paying those royalties because they know you're putting the funds to good use. And then my other question would be, I also presume that like Trove is just going to keep those things in place, right? Because none of that stuff really broke down until OpenSea and Blur started messing with the formula. I can't imagine Trove's going to change is going to wipe out royalties or anything like that. That's my question to you guys. Think that is at risk at all from a standpoint of building the business in this ecosystem?
I would say no. What do you think, Noodle?
Yeah, I don't think so because I talked to the team like here and there, and I think they understand the value of royalties, especially for freemint like
Hmm.
us, and that without this, we contribute a lot to the ecosystem, honestly, and without this, we wouldn't be there. So I think, yes, they know that this is important to support the project in the ecosystem.
Yeah, that's my expectation too. Just what figured I'd ask. All right, so then from an operational standpoint, from like a building a business standpoint, Noodle,
Yeah,
what's your goal here? Obviously, you want to build something cool that the community loves, but what do you want
that's
for you and for the team, and what do you hope TLD turns into from a business standpoint?
that's a very good question because I've been working on it like for, I don't know, like 2 months, but it's not something I share much to the community because I don't like to tell, okay, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, if there is nothing happening yet. But basically, I'm trying to build like a real interoperable game, meaning that I'm in conversation with many other blockchains in order to make the Lost Donkeys the first like real interoperable game between
Nice.
chains.
So not just
Uh,
within this ecosystem, but to other ecosystems as well. That's awesome.
Yeah, because I believe that we started the project as like Arbitrum Maxi and stuff, and Arbitrum will always be home. It's where the community is from, basically. Like 99% of our community is from Arbitrum. But I feel that now we need to step up. We need to grow from being a Arbitrum project into becoming like NFT project.
Hmm.
It's not tied to only one chain. Because yeah, we're talking about business, right? Um, the purpose, like if you have like a restaurant, let's say, you don't want to have like a restaurant with I don't know, like 4 seats like forever in
Hmm.
your life,
Yeah.
right? For we like you can get like a bigger restaurant and have more people and stuff, right? So basically it's the same. We're trying to reach a bigger audience through other blockchains. So the donkeys will always have, just to explain a bit, to reassure a bit our holders, the donkeys on Arbitrum will always be like main collection with the bigger advantage in game. But what we want to do is that like our collection on other blockchain get you like new feature or access to other part of the map, access to other quests
Ah,
in
okay.
game. So that way our holders will need to go and play on every chain. Like in order, I don't know, you want to go to the island, you can only go to the island if you're playing on that chain. Okay, you want to get like a golden bamboo. You need to play on, I don't know, this other chain with like all those components. You'll be able to craft one unique item that will be so rare
Hmm.
because I don't know, like you have to go like through 4 chains in order to gather like all the resources.
I think that's awesome.
So yeah, and I think that the Lost Donkeys as a collection will benefit from the attention of every blockchains, right? Like every ecosystem will be great to the donkeys. So we're trying to reach as much people as we can. And the point also is, we of course like getting grant from those blockchains we're gonna develop the game on, and also like the big picture, the bigger purpose is to raise fund in order to hire much more people in the dev team and stuff to really like make a real game and not like this fun project, like family friend project.
Sure. Got it.
It started this way.
Okay. Very cool. And now in the Lost paper, you did lay out like a 6-stage roadmap. Is that roadmap still accurate, if you will? Do you think that's still the path you're on? Or do you think it's morphed at all?
So the roadmap is still accurate. We just added stuff on top of it, such as combat. Like in the Lost Donkeys, we'll need to fight against the zombie donkeys in order to protect the Lost Land. For example, the donk-board, for example, that we're releasing next week. Maybe when you guys are hearing that, it's already out, or maybe out in a few days. I don't know. But these fall into the category of the mini game, arcade game that was in the white paper, game paper. So just a quick example, but yeah, with the donk-board, so the donk-board will be usable in game to be faster in the land and stuff.
Okay.
So you can move like go from A to B like quicker and stuff. And there will also be a race that players will be able to play.
Oh, very cool.
And with a leaderboard, basically. There is like 2 choice, like when you want to play to the race, which is actually like an endless runner. You can either choose to practice, so you'll just like practice and for free and just try to make the highest score as you can, but these wouldn't count in the leaderboard.
Okay.
Or you can choose to pay 1 to compete, basically, and the score you'll do during that game will be in the leaderboard, and the best players of every month will win the prize pool, where every people have put 1 magic for every game that we're doing. Yep. The base players will get a part of the prize pool, basically.
Very cool. Awesome. Yeah, that'll be right up my alley. It's kind of like the Battlefly Racer model that they've got going right now. A similar thing with you can practice as much as you want, and then there's a leaderboard kind of official race game in that, and I'm pretty damn hooked on that. So chances are I'm going to be racing a donk-board next week. So everything you just described there, is that all part of the initial release, or is that is this kind of like part of it's coming out next week and there's more to?
So donk-board are coming next week. Right now we're beta testing the runner, so I guess it will come maybe in a couple of weeks.
And that same model a little bit at a time. Keeping us wanting more. I like it. I like the consistency.
Yeah, because I'm really inspired by all those MMORPG, I know WoW or like any others that have a DLC coming here and there. I think it's important that now the game is out, that we keep releasing stuff like every month and a half for the community. Then if we're just to disappear and come back in 1 year with a full game, because if we do that, maybe the community won't be there anymore, right? So that's why like we go for small release here and there. And as I was saying before, we're still working on the big picture on long term.
Yeah, right on. And I've done a lot of software development in the last 20 years, and it was like originally, I grew up in that kind of waterfall phase where you'd get all those requirements, and you'd disappear for 6 or 8 months, and you'd come back and you'd like, you drop this whole monstrosity on the business, and then it would be like this big disruption. And then that luckily went away for the agile delivery method, which is exactly what you're talking about here. It's your users are engaged, they're getting value sooner. They're getting you feedback sooner. You're finding out if you're off track sooner. And doing it this way allows you guys to do what you've proven to be just fantastic at, which is just engage the community regularly and keep them excited, keep them coming back for more. Just make them feel like they're part of it, right? Like I think that's why people love TLD, is because they feel like they're part of it. They can engage with you guys on a daily basis. And the delivery model fits that ethos that you all have built in the community. So it's perfect. From outside looking in, I think you guys are on a really good path here. So on the way out here, first, thank you so much for sharing all that. I'd love to hear like really how you make it go. How did you make it go? And that's what we're trying to give for the listener. I think you got a ton of value here for anybody who's trying to do something like this. To stack on top of that, on the way out, if you're a big doodle, if you were to give one piece of advice to a new founder, they're doing this for the first time, what's like the one thing you'd give them? It doesn't have to be the most important thing, but what's the first thing that comes to your mind when I ask that question? Like, give someone a piece of advice on how to found a project in Web3.
Yeah, I would say observe, analyze, think, take your time. That's the most important.
Okay.
No rush, because when you rush things, it won't go well.
Yeah, and that's a super important piece of advice, and especially in this environment where it feels like everything has to be a rush, right? Everything's moving so fast, like you're probably compelled to follow that, and you're saying no, still go slow inside of that. I love it. How about you, Lambo?
Yeah.
What's your one piece of advice to a founder?
Don't be a bad person. And I'd have to
Love it.
say that goes for pretty much any advice I give anybody for anything. If you know me outside of TLD, you know me outside of just Web3, my name is Logan. I'm a very nice person. Any situation, any business, whatever I do, I always take the high road, be a good person. Sometimes it may not be monetarily beneficial for you. Doesn't matter.
Mhm.
If you get into being a project founder specifically to get rich, there's a good chance that your goal is to scam your community. I hate to say it. You see it happen time and time again. So I'd have to say my
Yeah.
biggest piece of advice to anyone starting a project is be a good person. And it comes full circle because it's exactly what Noodle did. And now we see this beautiful product that is created. And I'm just going to go ahead and break it on down to the simplest fact that Noodle's an awesome person. He showed a lot of love to the community and it came full circle, man. So for sure, if you want to start a project, listen, observe, be patient, just like Noodle said, but also don't forget your heart, man. It's important to have one. We all have a heart. Sometimes they grow big, sometimes they grow small. Just remember that you have one.
Got it, man. Love it. Yep. Be good. Be a good person. Deliver value. Take care of the people around you. You can't go wrong. I'm with you 100%. Gentlemen, this has been awesome. Big Noodle,
Thank you so much.
Lambo
And yeah,
McGee, the
like
Lost Donkeys. Keep doing what you're doing. Everybody loves you. I hope you know that, and I hope you're enjoying
Thank you
that along the way.
for-
Awesome. Thank you for having us on, man. Really appreciate you.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Ready Layer 2. If you're an Arbitrum builder with a story to share, then hit me up on Twitter at GitSmall, GITSMOL. Learn more at gitsmall.com.